well, it's nice to see so many. I must admit, it's so far actually the largest course I've had. I mean, I had some classes on web dev that were pretty big with 45 students and such, but this is the largest attendance I've seen yet. So I hope it works for you out in the back too. Good. I'm planning, originally when I was asked if I would run this course, I planned it to be a bit more hands-on and very much hands-on. I show some stuff, you do some stuff, but with so many of you, it obviously would be rather hard to get around to everyone. So I hope we can find a happy compromise between I'm showing some stuff. That's also partly why I'm recording it, so because I'm showing some stuff, then you might be able to follow some of the things on your computer. I'll tend to repeat things a couple of times when I show them up here, so you have a chance to see it, because I know how hard it can be, especially if you're sitting far away from the projector, to catch everything the first time around. So I'll say some stuff, show it, and then I'll probably repeat it again. But if you miss something, then I'm recording, as I said, so you can see it on the online afterwards. And hopefully it'll work a little bit better the next time around. I had a few snags with the recording software this time, but that's how it happens. A little bit about myself, a bit of presentation, I suppose. As you heard, my name is Erik. I worked with, web development for around, I suppose, 18 years or so now. We've used WordPress for about, I think, the last 10 or so. And I have a degree in web development. I've taught web development both at multimedia designer and bachelor in web development here, and also at Danish Erhvervsskole originally, so I've been a bit around and used to teaching web development. And that being said, given your background, or at least what I was told about your background, I don't plan on making this, I actually don't plan on looking at any code at all this time, which is rather new to me. What I usually teach is programming, and that's about it. Although I have taught design a couple of times and had some design lessons too and such, so when we get to that next time, don't worry, you'll be covered there too. Let's see if I can find the curriculum. I think Word ate it, but let's see if we can't get it open. Just get the curriculum, or rather lecture plan. I'm zooming a bit, so it might be a bit easier to see on the, for those a bit away. So today, I heard some of you have used WordPress before, so there might not be that much new today, but we'll see. Depending on how fast it goes, we might be able to stop a slight bit. I might stop talking to all of you a slight bit earlier, and then you can ask questions and so on. That's what I hope, at least, but it really depends on how much time it is. And of course, if there are some pressing questions underway, try to get my attention, but it will be rather hard to see someone at the back, or basically also in the middle. In general, it might be a bit hard to answer questions underway, but of course I'll do my best if there's anything. So if you have a really pressing question underway, raise your hand and try to make yourself visible among the crowd. So, but the plan for today, introduction. What's the purpose of the CMS system? It's a bit theoretical, but start with why do we even use CMS systems like WordPress and Drupal or Joomla and all the other ones? We'll go through the standard user interface and structure most WordPress sites use. When I say most, it's because you can basically customize it to work more or less any way you want. And part of the standard structure is, of course, the menus and how to add menus and submenus. We'll look at the default themes and brief introductions to plugins. And as I expect, I don't expect all of you to have your own web server or have your own WordPress sites, have access to put your website on the web, at least right away. So I'll also show you how to put up, it's luckily very easy, to put up a local web server on your computer so you can run the website on your own computer without having to pay for a web portal. Of course that means, at least the way the software I've chosen, you can't really, well, the world won't get access to your website, but it's ideal to have it running on a local server closed on your own computer while you're working, and then when you have a site you're pretty satisfied with, you can then take it and put it online for the world to see. That's basically also the recommended way of working we use on all the web educations here with. So I'm going to show that, and luckily the software is very easy to use, and it exists both for Windows, Mac and Linux for the more alternative guys out there. So you can basically take it for, you can use it on everything with the program I'm going to show you. And then in one of the later lessons, of course, I'll show you how to take the site you made on your local computer and put it online. And then we'll also talk about what some of the there's a ton of different companies offering web hosts and such out there, but we'll talk about that when we get to that. But most of the lessons will work on your local computer, on the site running on your local computer, simply because I don't know about you, but I don't want to show the world a work in progress. I don't want to risk, okay, you can actually ask the system to say to Google, don't index my website. But then again, it's up to Google to actually honor that agreement on Google and Yandex and all the other search engines out there. I know for a fact that at least the Russian ones, they don't respect any attempts to ask for privacy. So that's why I suggest we're going to put it on your own computer first. But let's begin with a bit of the purpose of the system, and then on the way we'll switch to showing it on your own computer. But what's the purpose of using a CMS system, a content management system? Well, how many of you, maybe some of you have tried, have tried back in school using a program named FrontPage, and just making very simple static pages. You can also make, Publisher also supports making a web page. Maybe some of you tried that back in public school or further gymnasium. I don't know, at least my teacher was rather enthusiastic about that back then around the millennia. Well, and a lot of schools do that still. Well, the thing about those web pages is you are making a static page. It's basically like making a non-editable Word document and making a PDF and showing it to people. They can't interact with the site in any way. You make the site, and every time you need to make a change, you have to download it and change some things mainly in the code, although at least rather simple code with HTML, but still code, and then upload it again. That's not very user-friendly and not very easy to add content to the site. That's why, around 15, WordPress is around 15 years old. Most of those systems are around 15 years old. So let's say around the millennia, let's just put it there. The idea of having a content management system emerged. And the point of that is, around 20 years ago, a lot of people also realized, why make a web page where you have to edit the code each time? Why not, and which is cumbersome and not very handy at all? Why not put all the data of the website in a database, and thus programming languages that were able to do a lot more complicated stuff. Among those communicated with databases and such were created. That's good. That was great. But then again, you basically still need some guy to program your website, and your website would be your website, and you need to pay a lot to get a website that uses the database and such. Some people then got together and said, why not make some standardized system? Most of them open source, at least the popular ones I'm showing today, but then my name will not make some systems that people can use, and then either then the open source systems like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, and a lot of others were created. I'm going to show you a bit more about on those in a moment. Were created, and companies were created that basically made ready-made systems with that, and which they then sold to other companies. So basically made a website for them, but they had a system they could use. And those systems were made to, well, like the name implies, manage content, to be easy for someone to log in and have a, so the secretary could log into the website. Usually that's there. Often, at least in smaller companies, they get that, well, job. They can log into the website and add content to the website via an interface that looks like, more or less like the one you know from Word. Basically making it very easy for people to add new content to the website, and then the underlying system made sure that it looked nice and for the user in the front end, and user in the front end, the one the user would see would look nice and such. So that was basically, yeah, the birth of the content management system, yeah, CMS, in short, ERA. Because nowadays, the whole idea of the content management system, well, that basically rules the internet. If we're not somewhere, depending on which statistic you see, 60 to 80% of all web pages on the internet are served by content management systems. And again, which basically make it around, I don't know, around 1 billion websites or such, and or at least more, probably more. I don't have the exact number. Switches all the time. But then, and among those, clearly the most popular content management system, and the easiest to use mine and most of the people I've talked with, opinion is one of the easiest to, at least one of the easiest to use is WordPress. And well, WordPress is a system to put content on the internet, and yeah, this is where my own, well, teaching blog where I put the material like, well, when I've taught some lessons, then I usually wait a little while, some months, and then I put the material online there to inspire other people, and this is also where I'm going to put the videos. This is running WordPress. Yeah, it doesn't look that different from many blogs out there, but still, it's running WordPress. Using one theme. The cool thing about content management systems nowadays is that you can upload different themes and use different themes to change the look and feel, and in many ways what kind of content your sites actually support. We are going to get to that when you're talking about themes in a moment. All those themes really define the site. That means you can basically change the look of the site without the website, without having to change any content at all. That's pretty neat, because you might have a look that looks cutting edge now, but in 2 years that design might seem a bit dated, and you might want to add some features or change things around a bit, and then you can change the design without any worry or risk of losing all your already published content. Then you might say, from a company point of view, why bother? I mean, many companies only have 5 or 10 pages on the website, sub-pages on the website. Yes, that may be true, and they may change them rather often and delete them and such, so you might not want to have all your old content on the website. But still, it's nice, first thing, to have the option, and plus, that's one thing we're going to talk about in one of the last lessons with search engine optimization, a short introduction to that. Actually, Google wants you to publish stuff often. A website that might only have 5 pages and be updated once a year, that's not very good according to Google. Yeah, some of those people, some of those sites might rank very high if you search for them. Then again, most of those sites actually also pay Google a pretty penny to be ranked high. We'll get to that later on, but most places actually like you to update your website and such, so you will end up getting a pretty large amount of data online, and it would be sad to miss all that data, to lose all that data, just because you wanted a new design. So in my opinion, that's a very strong point of using a content management system like WordPress, because you can update the look and change the look around, but still have your content kept from the what you made. But this is my teaching blog using one theme. And this is another site I run with use about anime, manga, and modern Japanese culture. As you can see, it looks somewhat the same. It is using the same theme, more or less, with a few tweaks, but still looks slightly different. Another of my site, my freelance work, that's also running WordPress, and again, looks quite a bit different because that's a totally different theme. And to put some of the companies I've worked with and worked for, Designer Us, they're also using WordPress as their content management system. Looks quite a bit different again, still same backend, same system they're running. When I'm saying backend, that's basically what the editor sees, not what the user sees is called front end, and what the administrator, editor, or whatever, whoever makes the content for the websites, they usually see they see what you could call the backend of the system. So this quite different to the other ones I've shown so far. I'm not very proud of it. I don't think it looks very nice design-wise, but that was what the owner of the company I made this site for wanted. So basically, the customer is king, even though you don't find his taste in design to be very nice. So that's also used. I can say that I can say that because nowadays the company is more or less closed down. So I can admit to say that I don't find the design very appealing. But then again, I've shown you some smaller sites. I mean, we only get around 1,600,000 hits a month. That's not that big websites. But WordPress can be scaled pretty large. I mean, a lot of people, and especially if you ask some web bureaus, they say, WordPress, that's for small companies. That's for small use. If you want to have a small company, a WordPress site would be ideal. I mean, that's probably also why it's appealing to get started with, because most companies have recommended some companies say it's for small solutions, well, with few users, like a couple 100,000. Not really. I mean, have you heard about, the Rolling Stones? Their website is made in WordPress. They're pretty popular. I suppose they have a lot of hits. I haven't checked online enough for their site, but yeah, I'm pretty sure they have quite a few hits, Rolling Stones. They use WordPress. Same goes for Katy Perry. She also has a few fans nowadays, I think. PlayStation, they also use WordPress. In general, Sony uses it for a lot of their sites, actually. Samsung also use it. Even Microsoft, which did surprise me rather much, because WordPress is, if you go, okay, I promised I wouldn't talk about code, but bear with me, it's just a short interlude. WordPress is mainly coded in a language called PHP, which is mainly used on servers running Linux. So WordPress is usually run on a server running Linux. But even Microsoft chose a content management system that runs on WordPress. Chose WordPress, which mainly runs on Linux, even for their side. Microsoft have their own you can say they are much more fond of the language called C#, which they are using for their ASP.NET. But that's a lot nerdy in a different way. I wouldn't promise not to talk about today. So, but even Microsoft, even though they have their own competing solutions, they actually ended up choosing WordPress for some of their pages. I found that rather interesting. So it's not only for small websites, and don't be conned into by all the people saying you need different systems. You need Joomla, especially Drupal, if you want a large complex website. No, you can basically do more or less the same in WordPress as in all other systems. You really need to have extremely many visitors, or have extremely special solutions for before you can see the extremely special needs before you see any difference between the systems in how they run, basically. So, yeah, the world runs more or less WordPress. As I said, a large majority of all websites use WordPress, or use the content management systems. And among those content management systems, 60% of those are running WordPress. There's supposed to be around, the last statistic I found say there's currently, okay, now I have the numbers right, because those numbers I have, there are currently at least 27 million WordPress websites on the net. And among those 27 million, but that being said, 27 million, each day there are opened 50,000 new websites using WordPress as the system. It's popular, very popular, as you can hear. So, but it is also a very robust solution and very easy to use, as I said. So, yeah, I'll put this link up to, yeah, okay, oh sorry, not 27 million, 75 million, yeah. And global, that's where the numbers came from. 75 million WordPress websites in total, which makes up around 27.5% of all websites at all in the world are running WordPress. Interesting fact. You're probably also thinking about, well, WordPress is mainly for blogs and websites. Yeah, but as you'll see later on there, you can add plugins to the site. Well, yeah, which is basically what they say. It's a bit of extra code, that a bit of a package of extra code that adds new features to the website, so you can actually add features such as web shops to WordPress. Which is why WooCommerce, the most popular web shop plugin for WordPress, is actually, I think it's currently getting its popularity has been rising steadily. So nowadays, I'm pretty sure it's vying for the top 1 web shop system in the world. It used to be number 2, but it's with Magenta number 1. But its popularity has been rising, so it's at least number 2, if not vying for number 1 spot, most popular web shop system in the world. But it runs on top of WordPress. So yeah. So by knowing WordPress, you have a system that's easy to, that's yeah, everybody's using it basically. And I'll put this up later on. So yeah, around 400 million people see WordPress pages, or WordPress blogs monthly. Yeah. So basically, if you want to run WordPress, there are two main solutions. I haven't really brought WordPress.com into the open tab because I don't prefer that myself, but yeah. Yeah, they're pretty proud of it. There are 2 ways of running WordPress. As I said, it's open source, so you can download the code and run it on your own server. We'll get to that in a minute. But you can also go to WordPress.com. Basically, the main development team behind WordPress, even though it's open source, and open source means free, everybody can download the code, change it, and put it online with their own changes and so on. There are, of course, some people who are mainly working on it. And that team, they run WordPress.com, which basically allows you to then host your WordPress site for you. You got to just go in and say onto WordPress.com, say get started, click a button, and bam, you have your WordPress site. You don't need to think about setting and putting it on your web server, or going into the control panel of your web server and do a one-click install, and so on. And anyway, you don't need your own web server. We just say get started, and pay a small monthly fee, and then you have a WordPress site. The good thing about that is you don't really need to think about any security or basically anything on the security or and such setup, because they are running the site, they're updating the site, they're running it for you. You just add your content and that's done. And that's it. You can, the minus with choosing that solution is they also host your images and everything. You can just upload it and basically get started and get going. You upload pictures to your blog and get your website up and running. The minus is they don't support every theme. They have a selection of themes which you can choose from. Well, that's probably basically because they are running this. The company is running the system, and they are to make sure everything works, painlessly and always works. They of course put a few limits on what you can do with your site, but you get the majority of the features of WordPress hosted on their servers on the company that make the main code of the system. So I can see why that's pretty tempting, but as I said, you can't change everything yourself. You can't customize 100% to your liking. Can't remember how many themes they have. They have I think there's quite a few hundred themes there, but still only a few hundred themes. Might sound like a lot of design options, but there exist thousands, if not millions themes actually out there. And if you know a bit of code, it's very easy to get going and make your own theme, make your own design for your website, and coding your own theme from the bottom up. That's what we teach the multimedia design students on. And used to teach them at least it's a year ago since I taught there, but I think they still do that. So it's easy to get going and code and make your own theme, even with minor educations. And you can't use that here because you are locked into their choices. What they offer of themes and plugins and so on. But it's cheap, relatively cheap, 25 kronor a month. I know you can get if you want your own web host, you can get it even cheaper, but then you have to make sure you update your site yourself and so on. But that's WordPress.com, and that a lot of people get confused because when they're seeing when they say WordPress, they're going to say, okay, get started, and then they make a site on WordPress.com, and then they see some online tutorials. Oh, I can't do that. That looks slightly different at me. Well, that's because they're using the hosted option. They're using WordPress.com. If you want to download it, which we're going to do later on, and which I'm going basically basing these lessons on, you can download the code, as I said, for free. It's open source. You can download it. You can change it around. You can do it whatever you want it, but you can download it and put it on your own server, and that's WordPress.org instead of .com. That's the main. So bear that difference in mind because a lot more people than you think got confused by that. And you can see download WordPress, and then you can download it. Then you get a zip file, and then you unpack that and put it on your web server, and you're basically good to go. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do in a moment. Put it on. In a moment, I'm going to show you how to set up your own web server, local on your computer, which is also basically just 3 mouse clicks. Then you're going to go to WordPress.org, download it. I'll give you a few minutes for that. Those of you who get early, you have a coffee break, I suppose. But download it and put it on your web server on your own computer. As I said, it is literally only a few clicks. A lot of people think, oh, it's hard to put it up on a web server. So no, it's not really. Might be something you've not done before, but it's not that hard. But you can download it. You can even download it in Danish if you want. You can also download it in German, Italian, Spanish, Polish. Basically, I think there's 70-something language packs available. So I'm pretty sure that most people in here would be able to find a version in their native language, no matter where they're from. Do mind, I won't recommend if you download it again. Well, okay, if you know the system, you can download it in a different language, but which you don't understand, but it's not really recommendable. I suggest you download it in a language you know. But since we're from Denmark, it's probably going to show you can also download it in Danish, but you can choose the language from there. Yeah. So that's a basic introduction to WordPress and CMSs. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of other players in the CMS field. Some of the more popular ones I mentioned already. just going to show you the websites. We're not going to look into them. If you want to know more about other systems and so on, come ask me. I can tell you more about them after the lesson, or write me an email. I'm going to put my email on the projector in the end of the lesson too, so you can always email me if you have questions in general. Another system is Joomla. That's the third most popular one. A slightly more complex to use in my opinion. It's still relatively easy to use, but still I find it to be a bit more, you can change a few things more around than WordPress, but it's also a bit more complex to manage. And then the third one, very popular, extreme. The third, I can't remember if it's Joomla or Drupal. That's the second most popular one, but Drupal is the one of the top 3 also. Drupal is very popular. Drupal is a very good system, but can very easily get very complex, and I don't recommend anyone without a solid grasp of at least how to run websites, and preferably a solid grasp of coding to begin trying with Drupal, because you will need to customize quite a bit. But on the other hand, you can optimize Drupal very much. Websites using Drupal, that's many of the major newspaper companies in Denmark and TV2, they're using Drupal as the system. But that's once a side note, you're going to work with WordPress. Good. So, before we are going to look into the back end and looking I'll suggest we download the software and basically look at how WordPress looks behind the scenes and how you can set it up. I suggest you download some software so you can run it on your own computer without having the net, like I promised. So, if you go to, I can show you the software first before you download anything. Basically, the software you're going to run looks like this, and that's pretty easy. You don't need to try the Pro version. Also, when you install it, you can say you can tick off, remove the tick on wanting to try the Pro version. It's free, the normal version. So basically, when you download this software, and then you can say start web server, and then you have a web server running locally, and then you can use basically WordPress or whatever website you want. You can put that code on your own computer and run it on your own computer, just like you had it put it on a web host. Some of you might have websites online before, and so, but this is, like I said, I don't want this course to cost you anything to try and want to play things around, so this is why I'm showing you this now. So if you go to mamp.info, you can download, go to mamp.info on your computer and say downloads, and then you can choose, only Mac and Windows. I think there was a Linux version. Okay, that was in beta still only then, but still I'm pretty sure there's not that many Linux users in here. So you can download it for Mac and Windows, and it's 100% free. You can of course then pay for the Pro version and get a few more features, but you don't really need those. The free version is plenty for what we're going to use it for, and there's no advertisements or anything irritating with NAM. That's why I like it pretty much. You can just download the software and use it. There won't be any advertisement in the software or on your computer or anything ever. So if you go to map.info, download, and say choose your whatever operating system your computer is running, either Mac or Windows, then you say download. So I suggest you do that. And those of you who don't, if any of you haven't brought a computer or anything, well, I'm giving you, let's say, 20 minutes past, that's 7 minutes to download the software and install it. Those of you who don't need 7 minutes, you might be able to run out and grab a cup of coffee or go to the toilet. I suggest you use this slight break for that.